We're going to talk about 12 common mistakes that game developers make when it comes to marketing. Really, this applies to all artists, but game developers specifically, coming up. How's everybody doing? My name is Tim Ruswick, and I'm glad you clicked on this video. If you're new here, I want you to consider subscribing because we post daily content just like this on the channel. And real quick, if you ever done any marketing before, why don't you leave your top mistake down below so we can all learn from each other. But let's get started. Mistake number one is not thinking about marketing. Most game developers and artists, really, we don't like to market stuff. A lot of people think marketing sucks. You got to convince people to buy your stuff. You got to have the self-confidence needed to sell something. You got to see enough value in the thing that you created to actually be able to convince someone to buy it. And so we like to push marketing out of our brains. We just like to say, no, no, I'm not going to think about that today. Marketing is not an overnight process. It's not something you do on launch day. It's not the thing that you do at the end of the marathon. It is the thing that you do during the whole marathon. And some of the mistakes coming up, we'll talk more in detail about that. But basically, if you're not thinking about marketing in everything that you do, you're doing it wrong. When you're thinking about how your game's going to look, you need to think about marketing. When you're thinking about how your game's going to play, you need to think about marketing. When you think about how your game looks when people are watching other people play it, you need to think about marketing. Because all those things are really, really important in how people see your game, how they perceive it. And a lot of people define marketing as trying to get other people to buy my shit. But in reality, I think of marketing as the sum total of every interaction that your product makes with your customer. It's everything. It's not just the buy part. It's how people see it. It's all of it. So if you're not thinking about marketing, you're doing it wrong. Mistake number two, thinking marketing starts on launch day. So launch day is just a day. And yes, you're probably going to get more sales in your launch day than any other day in your game's entirety. But that doesn't mean that you get those sales by just waiting till that day. It's not some magical thing that happens automatically. Not everybody gets blessed with all the sales from the sales fairy. That's not how it works. You have to lead up to it. You have to market to get to that point. You have to get people excited for it. You have to tell people that it even exists. Because even if someone would buy it, and even if they have money and they're ready to click buy now, if they don't know that it exists, they're not going to buy it. So it's your job to get them to know that it exists, and it's your job to tell them why they should buy it. And waiting until launch day is a mistake, because launch day is the most important day. Right? It's the most important day. That should be the culmination of a lot of your efforts, right? You've been working for so long and you're building up and you're building up and you're building up and you're building up, and launch day is the day, man. And you need to be working for months on marketing before launch day, because if you don't do any marketing until launch day, it's going to be crickets. And launch day is like the hype day, right? If everyone hears about your game on launch day, it's not as exciting as the day before launch day. And yes, you can get sales after launch day. Absolutely. I know people that have run entire businesses with their games, just straight up on the long tail day over day sales. But launch day is probably your biggest day, and it's not a day that you want to take for granted. So you want to prepare for it and you want to market for it as much as you can. Mistake number three, assuming a good game is marketing. So I hear this a lot in Reddit, in forums, I even see it in the Discord sometimes, in the Game Dev Underground Discord, which, by the way, the link's down in the description if you want to join thousands of other game developers just like you. But people say, you got to make a good game. That's the best form of marketing. That's just not, it's not true. I ran a marketing company for 5 years. It was my job to take a product, figure out how to sell it to an audience, and then build the tools and technology and all the front-facing pages and landing pages and all that stuff to actually reach that audience. And I've generated hundreds of thousands of dollars with my marketing clients doing that stuff. A lot of it was in different industries from games, full disclosure there. But the principles are the same. Marketing is the best marketing. But here's the thing about marketing that most people don't realize. Marketing is a multiplier. It's not the whole thing. Just like the game isn't the whole thing, right? So if you multiply 10,000 million, the best marketing ever, by 0, a shitty game, you still get 0. So you need both. You need a good game and you need good marketing. The better your game is, the better your marketing is, it's a multiplier. You can sell a shitty game with fantastic marketing. And you can sell a fantastic game with shitty marketing. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But you gotta learn the tricks of the trade. You gotta learn how to do it. And a good game is just not enough these days. There are little things that you can do to just improve. And I think going back to number one, just thinking about marketing, thinking about how every little piece of your game feeds into the marketing of your game. I think that's really, really important. Thinking about how people are going to see it, how they're going to react, what are they going to think when they see it on Twitch? What are they going to think when they see it on YouTube? Is there any surprises in there that people are going to be excited about? Is there reasons to share the game? Like all that kind of stuff that adds into a good game, and it perpetuates the cycle of good marketing. So you need a good game, but you also need good marketing. Mistake number 4, thinking developers are your target market. Now, I have a video that talks about target market versus total market, but basically a target market is the type of person that you are targeting specifically. They're the hardcore player of your game. They're the person that's going to love it the most. They're the person that's going to play it the most, right? But there is this bigger circle called a total market. So just because you're targeting a target market doesn't mean that more people won't buy it. So if you're making a really hardcore platformer, for example, there are hardcore platformer fans. They go on forums, they go on message boards, they talk to each other. They're super hardcore about their platformers. If your game is designed for them, they'll probably love it. But there's a bigger section of people that will also play it. And developers can sometimes fall into that bigger section of people, the total market, but they're not the target market, right? Unless you have like a programming game or a game built specifically for people that are developers, because otherwise you're targeting the wrong group of people. You're targeting your peers. You see what I'm saying? And a lot of people do this. Like, have you ever seen on Facebook people trying to sell those wraps, or they're trying to sell like weird multi-level marketing stuff like the Herbalife or whatever, and they're trying to sell it to all their friends, right? They're not trying to sell it to the people that are interested. They're just trying to sell it to all the people they know. And that's a big mistake that a lot of like newer entrepreneurs make as well, not just game developers. But you got to find your target market. You got to find where those people hang out. Don't make the same mistake of assuming that your target market is the people that you hang out with or your peers, right? Because it's not. It's not anywhere remotely close. Not saying developers won't play your game, right? Like, I have a big audience of developers. When I release a game, some of them are probably going to buy my game just because it's part of my audience. It's part of my total market. But they're not my target market. So just something to keep in mind. Mistake number 5, building a store page on a whim. So I've seen this a lot, and actually I'm guilty of this too, even as a dude with some experience in marketing. It comes time to publish a game, and you work so hard in the game, you're so exhausted, everything's crazy, it's been epic, it's been awesome, it's been so long, so much time of your life, and you go to publish it on Steam or Google Play or App Store or wherever, and you're like, oh shit, you need a cover image. You need screenshots, you need a description, you need all that stuff, you need tags. So you just start typing stuff, you just start like adding stuff, and like, okay, it's done. That is not how you should approach the store page at all. That is the single point of entry to your game. You need to understand it. That's like a gate. It's like a big ass gate, right? And by doing that, you're making this gate like have bolts on it, and like it's got like a moat going up, and it's like closed down, surrounded by alligators. That's what you're doing when you rush your store page. You're making it completely inaccessible. You need to make that as open and as welcoming as possible, and you need to spend a lot of time on that. When it comes to things like your game's icon, you want to make sure you test that, right? Show people different versions, ask them which ones they like. The way that you title your game, especially on the App Store, not so much on Steam, the way that you add keywords, you got to do keyword research, figure out which keywords work well, what other apps are using for keywords. Same thing with Steam, like what are people tagging their games with? Spend time on your description, like really just try and get something exciting. Go through a couple versions, ask people what they think. Like, this is important. It's the gateway to your game. You don't want to stop people right there. Like, that's not good. It should be the most appealing, awesome page that you ever create, and you want to spend a couple days on it at least, if not a couple weeks. Mistake number 6, not working out loud. So I have a video called Work Out Loud, and basically it's a video about how while you're working, one of the best forms of marketing is to just work out loud, right? Stream your development, tweet your progress, add stuff to your devlog, like whatever. You got to find what works for you, right? Like, if you're better with video, go with video. If you're better with GIFs, go with GIFs. If you're better at blog posts, not a lot of people read blog posts anymore, but go with blog posts. Like, if you're a writer like that, right? Here's the thing. Doing something that fits into your routine is more important than doing something that's super effective. Because if you're doing something that's effective, but you hate it, you're not very likely to keep doing it. And in the long term, the consistency matters more than the platform. Like, obviously you need to get people to see your stuff, right? So if you're posting stuff to your blog, literally nobody's going to see it. So you've got to get a little bit out of your comfort zone and share your stuff. But on an open platform like YouTube, for example, I don't do any marketing for my videos. I post a video, YouTube pushes stuff out for me now. I mean, it wasn't like that in the beginning, but that's how it is now. And same thing with Twitter. I have a list of followers. I push that out there. You can use different hashtags, different stuff like that. So you're going to have to learn how to generate traffic. But generally, working out loud is one of the most effective forms of marketing for artists, any kind of creative person, because creating actually like marketing messages and brands and all that, like figuring out how to do that and sell the stuff, it's not the strong suit of most creative people. So just figuring out a way to like work out loud and just share your progress and show what you're working on. It gets people interested. And if you do it consistently, the key word is consistently. You have to do it over a long period of time, then people will start to get interested in it, right? One of the guys in our Elite Gold group has been posting a Twitter update every single day on Twitter, and I've been following the posts, and at first nobody was paying attention. Then a couple people started engaging, then a couple more, now a couple retweets, a couple likes, and his posts are getting more and more traction because people recognize his game. That's what you want to do. That's a great example of consistency and working out loud. Mistake number 7, not using visual mediums. So like I said, you want to use the platform that's easiest for you, but remember, you're making a game, and a game is a visual medium most of the time. I'm sure there are exceptions, but the point is, games are visual, right? So writing a wall of text on a blog post isn't necessarily going to cut it. You got to add some images in there. If you can add some movement in a GIF form, even better. If you can add a video, even better. If you could do an epic, super awesome trailer, even better. Can't always do everything at once. You only have a limited amount of time. I get it. But just keep in mind this is a visual medium and you want to share visual things. People, they understand what a game is so much faster in 5 seconds of video footage than they would in 10 paragraphs of describing it. So sharing in a visual medium is super important. Mistake number 8, forcing a monetization model. I see this a lot in game development, and monetization is technically separate from marketing, but I feel like it kills the marketing sometimes. People try and force their monetization models onto a game that doesn't really support it. Like, for example, if they have a paid puzzle game, and then they add in-app purchases for extra puzzles, like it's a paid game, and that just upsets people, and it can actually hurt your marketing, right? Like, it decreases the value of your game, makes people upset. It changes things. And a lot of times developers will work on the whole game the whole time, like spend a year or 2 or 3 on a game, and then they'll figure out a monetization model in the last minute. Like, oh shit, should it be free to play? Should it be paid? Should it be ad supported? Like what do we do? Your monetization model, you need to think about it the whole way through, right? It needs to be part of your marketing. You need to understand how you're going to monetize the game. You got to understand how you're going to make money. When I was doing like consulting in my company, like everyone had a monetization model, right? Because I worked with businesses. I had to work with businesses that were making money. But artists, for some reason, they seem to think they don't really need a business model. They're just going to make art and people are going to give them money for it. And that's not really how it works. You got to think how you're going to make money the whole way through. You got to understand at every step how you're going to monetize it. And yes, it can take work to figure it out. And yes, you don't always know it immediately, right? Like sometimes you got to figure out the game. Sometimes it's a decision that you have to make, like should we go free to play? Should we go paid? But it's generally something you want to make somewhat early on in the development process, not last minute, day before launch. Mistake number 9, underpricing the game. Now I have a whole video on why I think pricing is too low, why most people price too low, and I share my thoughts there. But basically, a lot of people underprice their games. Generally speaking, what actually happens when you price your game too low, like on Steam, for example, if you price your game $1, $2, $3, whatever, people associate it with lower quality. So less people actually end up buying it because they're like, oh, that's some stupid little game. When in reality, if it was $10 or $15, they might see it as higher quality. It's not always the case. There are exceptions. I recommend you check out that video because it goes in more detail on that. But a lot of times pricing lower can hurt you, and it's something you want to avoid because you do all this epic marketing and everybody's super excited for your game and it's crazy and they're pumped and oh, they're excited. And then they go to the page and it's $1. It's going to make them second guess. Like, wait, what? Why is it $1? That, and it's going to be really hard to make any money off of that. Mistake number 10, not engaging on social media. So by this, I don't mean posting on social media. I mean engaging on social media. A lot of people like to take the social out of social media, and I have a whole video on this as well. But basically, they like to just spam their game over and over again. There's actually a dude that spams me almost every single day, and he posts the same thing every single day about his game. Just a link to his game, a million hashtags, and then trying to get you to check it out. Like, that's all he posts over and over again. You go through his Twitter history, it's the same tweet over and over again. Nobody is going to be like, oh my God, I've seen this 24 times. 25th time is the one. I'm going to click on it now. I'm going to play it. It's not the same thing as sharing your work, right? Because you're sharing progress, you're sharing different stuff every day. Spamming your same link over and over again doesn't get you anywhere. What he forgot to do was engage with people. You want to talk to people. You want to say what's up. You want to make friends. You want to, offer suggestions or recommendations. You want to ask questions. You want to be social. That's what social media is for. Being social has a couple benefits. One, it allows you to connect with people, which is always nice. Two, it allows you to actually form a deeper connection with them beyond just buy my shit, buy my shit, buy my shit. And if they actually care about you, they can become longer term fans and buy all of your games, not just your one game. But three, it makes people care, right? Like, if you show that you care about them first, if they ask like, hey, what game should I play? And you don't immediately spam them with your game. You say, hey, well, I really like this game and I really like this game. You should try that. They're going to be like, oh, cool. That guy helped me. Maybe I'll help him out. I always try and give first in social media. I always try and engage with people. I always try and help people first. That's what this whole channel is about. That's what I try to do in my life. And it's really come back positively for me. If you're not engaging on social media, you're just kind of talking at people. You're not talking with people. That's what radio and TV did for years, and that's why they're dying. It's a conversation, not a broadcast. Mistake number 11, relying only on social media. So social media is great. We talked about it a lot in this video, but a lot of people think it is the only way to get people to see your game. If you think posting on Facebook and Twitter is going to be the be-all, end-all of marketing, you were wrong. You cannot just market your game on social media. Yes, it's a powerful way to connect with people. Yes, there's a lot of people and you can communicate effectively and get your message across, but it is by no means the only thing out there. You need to do research. You need to look up where your fans hang out. You need to figure out where the target audience of your game goes. What do they do on weekends? What do they like to do? What games do they play? Where do they hang out on the internet? Like, what message boards do they post on? What email lists are they part of? What magazines do they read? Get in their head, figure out where they are, and then try and get in front of them. Don't just think of, I need to get a Facebook and I need to get a Twitter because I need to market my game. That's not thinking like a marketer. That's thinking like a desperate person that just thinks Facebook and Twitter are the solution. You need to ask yourself this question. How can I get my game in front of the eyeballs of interested people? And you do that by asking yourself, where does my target audience hang out? That's how you find the stuff that nobody else knows about. And no mistakes video would be complete without number 12, blindly following experts without experimentation. So, I am not an expert. I am not the be-all, end-all of marketing. I am not some marketing guru. I am not a guy. I've never sold 1 million copies of a game. I have just, I'm not an expert. And so you're going to hear my video. You're going to listen to what I say. You're going to read some articles from some other people. You're going to Google some stuff. You're going to read all this stuff. Do not blindly believe any of it. A lot of it is outdated, straight up. A lot of it is written by people that don't even know how to market themselves. They're actually using it as a form of marketing for their own stuff. And a lot of it is just straight up copied from books or the other articles that they think actually work. So experiment. You have to experiment. You have to think about things critically. You have to see what works. Marketing is a process of iteration. You want to try something, see if it works, change something, try it again. If it worked better, keep doing that. If it worked worse, go back to the first one and start over. It's a process of iteration, right? And if you're not constantly testing things, you're doing it wrong. You can't blindly follow anybody. I wouldn't want anybody to blindly follow my advice. And some of the advice that I see, even by some prominent people that claim they know marketing in game development, I'm just like, holy shit, that's so wrong. So straight up, like, there's legit people that I respect and I admire that I'm like, holy shit, that's horrible advice. Not to say that my advice is better. I'm just saying, don't listen to anybody. Don't take anything as gospel, right? Experiment, try stuff out yourself, see what works, share what works. Ask other people what actually works for them. Don't ask them what tips they have, right? Ask them what works for them. Test it out for yourself and see if it works. But that's all I got for you. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please give me a thumbs up on this video. Leave me a comment down below with your #1 top marketing mistake that you see game developers make or that maybe you made yourself. I appreciate you guys so much for watching this video. If you made it through this whole thing, it's actually been pretty long. But if you want more awesome tips like this, I have an entire ebook down below called 67 Tips for Game Development, Design, and Marketing. I recommend you check that out because it's completely free. And if you haven't yet, I recommend you hit the subscription button and hit the bell so you get notified because I post daily game development videos just like this every single day. But once again, my name is Tim Ruswick, and I'll see you again tomorrow.